Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for tuning in to the Paul Leslie Hour. Your guest on this episode is singer-songwriter Timothy B. Schmit. Timothy's a bassist and a vocalist with such legendary acts as Poco, the Eagles, and he toured with Toto, Ringo Starr's All-Starr band, and Jimmy Buffett. Wow, a lauded recording artist. And he's got a new album coming out. He's going to be talking about it today. Keep the Paul Leslie Hour going. You can help. Go to www.thepaulleslie.com/support. Well, that's all we need for now, except your attention. So, Paul, if you're ready, say, well.
Well, Timothy B. Schmit is joining us from the road where he's with the Eagles. So this is a very exciting time. He's going to be talking about his album that's coming out soon. It's going to be out May 6th, folks. Day by Day is the title. And I'm so glad to do this. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about this music video and this new song. I think it's a very pensive song, kind of reminds me of like Crosby, Stills and Nash kind of vibe to it. Simple Man. Do you think that that's a good description for you?
Well, yes. When I started writing it, I thought this needs to be done totally in 3-part harmony, no lead guy, with backgrounds. And I definitely thought of them and some of my past stuff, with other bands. And I thought, why not just embrace it, So yes, it's sort of I didn't think of it this way when I was writing it or even recording it, but now I look at it in hindsight as sort of an homage. I even sent that track before it was released. I sent it to Graham so he could hear it, and he said he was quite complimentary. And then and I wrote back and I said, well, I've learned from the best.
Are there certain people like that you rely on again and again in terms of getting feedback?
No, I'm interested. No, I didn't really send it to him for a critique. I sent it to him because it's a nice song I thought he might like, and that's really all. And I'm interested in anybody's opinion, whether that matters to me is another story. I just try to do things to satisfy myself, and hope that others like it too. It's really kind of that simple.
How does it feel getting back on the road after, all that we've been through, going on the road, and then also now coming out with a solo album, getting back to it?
Well, the Eagles have been on the road on and off for quite a long time. We started, I can't remember when we started going out after COVID, but we've been on and off the road for quite a while now. And so it's honestly, it's kind of like riding a bike in a way. It's a little more laborsome as you get older, but it's, it's a life that I've always enjoyed. I've had the best of both worlds, my personal home life and being able to go out and hopefully lift some people's spirits live. It's really great. And then as far as my own solo thing goes, I'm not really quite sure. I would like to go out and play again, but I'm not sure. I'm unclear about the Eagles schedule so far. So I can't, that obviously has to come first. So we'll see what happens.
Do you enjoy that process of writing songs on your own? If somebody goes back and listens to the different solo albums you've done, this now coming up being your 7th, you'll notice a kind of it started out with lots of co-writes, and as time has gone on, more and more and more solo writing.
Yeah, on purpose. Whenever I went back, so starting about 3 albums ago with an album called Expando, that's when I decided I'm just going to do it all myself, no matter how long it took. And the reason is I have nothing against collaboration. You can come up with great stuff by collaborating with the right people at the right moments. But there's always a bit of compromise here and there. There has to be some give and take. And I just, honestly, when I go back and listen to some of those, which I rarely do, it's hard for me to go back and listen to old albums. But I invariably, personally, like the ones I wrote most of the time. I like the ones I wrote more than the collaborations. And so I thought, so I'm just going to go that direction. I'm not a particularly fast writer. It's very slow at times, but I don't have any deadlines. I have nobody to say I like this or I don't like this. It's all up to me. So I thought I'm just going to do it. And I first started strumming guitars and singing folk music a long time ago, and then eventually with some high school friends, and so that's how I write. I write on acoustic guitar, no matter what the genre is or what it turns out to be. I always start on acoustic guitar, and then I develop the song, and that's how it starts. Whether I keep the guitar or not, it depends on the song.
Well, the process, the actual writing of the song, I've heard everything from people describing it as thrilling to like an angst-filled, like painful labor. How does it feel for you to write songs?
Well, it is indeed all of that. Writing songs is work. It's probably harder work for some than others. I don't really know. I just know for me that you have to like really get into it and work. There are times when I'll go out to my studio, which I did a lot during COVID. I probably wrote about half of this during 2020 because I had no distractions. So there were days where I would be there for hours and come up seemingly with nothing. And sometimes indeed that was the case. But I also feel it's just part of the process. That's the painful part. You go, oh, geez, have I run out, And but I know I haven't. And I also know that you have to go through those periods to get to the good stuff. And there are days where things flow easier. And then there are days where I've spent days on one line of a song before, just to try and get it right. So it's kind of that whole spectrum. It's a whole life. A song is a whole. It's a birthing, I guess, And I don't really know how I do it or what my process. I don't really. Sometimes I'm mystified at it. I'm just glad that I'm able to do it, and so I'm really fortunate that way.
You have co-written with some really, really top shelf Hall of Fame writers, everyone from your Eagles bandmates, Henley and Fry, and then people like Jimmy Buffett, J.D. Souther, and then people like Josh Leo and Vince Melamed, really great writers also. Is there someone who you would say you have learned the most about songwriting from?
I can't really pinpoint one person. The first person who really taught me a lot about not just writing, but about being on stage and performing was Richie. He was when I it was kind of a rocky start for me joining Poco, and he was a real champion of mine. And I just really, I considered him a mentor. Is he the only person I've learned from? I think I've learned from a lot of people. And what I've learned mostly is, I think what Glenn basically stated really well in the history of the Eagles documentary was that, you know, it takes, you have to roll up your sleeves. It's elbow grease. You have to work at it. And you don't always come up with good stuff. But like I said, in order to get to the good stuff, you have to go through all that process, the more painful part, but painful psychologically. It's not like I have to, you know, physically dig ditches or anything, you know, but sort of mentally you do.
Has Jimmy Buffett properly thanked you for coming up with the brilliant term parrot head?
Properly, I don't know. I guess so, because I've seen it in print before when people have asked where that came from, and he's always credited me. It was just something that came out of my mouth when we were driving into one of those outdoor venues, and I just said it.
Something that I think you do very well, in addition to interpreting your own material, is really masterfully covering things like Bob Dylan. And of course, I just love your take on the So Much in Love, the Time song. Is there a difference in how you approach your independent work to when you're covering another artist?
Well, covering a song is easy. That's how we all learned. You know, I learned from the radio. You listen, you figure out what they're doing, you figure out what the chords are, you figure out the harmonies, you figure out the structure. Covering a song is easy. Coming up with your own song is a whole other ball game. It's not, you know, you don't have something there. Covering a song is copying. That's all you're doing. And maybe you put your own spin on it, maybe you don't. And at times it's fun, but it's not something I like to do a lot of. I've done a couple songs like that one, and I did something for a movie, a really obscure movie that had "I Only Have Eyes for You" by the Flamingos. Those were just fun things to do. They were fun, not a lot of work. I mean, not like writing a song.
Is there a compliment that has meant the most to you through the years?
Well, I think everybody likes a pat on the back. I don't care who you are or what you do. And I can't really think of any. Well, now that I think about it, I told you that my early Poco career was shaky at the very start for various reasons. And I remember Richie Furay, again, I told you he was sort of a champion. It looked like I wasn't going to stay in the band for various reasons. He actually has written a book, and I think that those reasons are in there. But it wasn't from him. And he came up to me backstage and he said, "Forget about all that other stuff. You're the guy that should be here. You're the guy that I want to be in the band. You're good. You're the one. You're the right choice." And that took me immediately out of kind of a scary situation where I thought I had blown my only chance in the music business. So I guess that's maybe a big one, yeah.
I had a publicist who was with HK Management for years, and she said of all of the people that she worked with through the years in music, she thought that you were the sweetest.
Well, that's very nice of her to say.
Is there something that you want people to get out of this experience of listening to the Day by Day album?
You know, it's amazing what people get out of songs. Sometimes it translates differently from your original intention. So and a lot of times it's really interesting and really fun to hear. I think my job is sort of, my father was a musician, and he always played in clubs, very, local clubs and stuff his entire life. And when people asked him what he did, if he didn't say musician, he'd say, I'm an entertainer. And I think songs should be, whether they're thought provoking or really lightweight, that it should be some form of entertainment, something to, set you, in some ways, sort of set you free from anything else, I guess. It's really great. It's really great to, I see it every night, and especially with the Eagles fans, where I see people I see all kinds of emotions. I see people crying. I see people completely in some sort of ethereal other space. I see people mouthing the words, and I just see a lot of, I believe what you're supposed to be seeing by listening to music. It lights up all this great stuff in your brain. And I'm lucky enough to be able to be up there sometimes and helping create that, but it's doing it to my own brain. I have a great job.
Well, Timothy B. Schmit, congratulations on this upcoming album. Everybody check it out. It's called Day by Day. TimothyBSchmit.com, and check out the album, folks. I really think you're going to enjoy it. And thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great pleasure. All right, sir.
All right. Bye.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Paul Leslie Hour is made possible by people like you, listeners, viewers. Please go to thepaulleslie.com/support, and you'll know what to do when you're there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who contributes. Performance of The Entertainer intro song by John Primorano. And of course, this is your announcer speaking. See you next time on the Paul Leslie Hour.